Chandrika, MC of the event, to start the session. Yes.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for introducing me. A very warm welcome to everyone present here. Let me now introduce the honorable speaker of the day, Dr. Sivakumar Narayan Swami, working as a professor in the Department of Mechanical, Industrial, and Aerospace Engineering at Concordia University, Montreal, Canada. An expert in optics with applications in metrology and micromachining. Dr. Narayan Swami did his undergraduate degree in Madras University and continued to pursue masters at Queensland University of Technology in Australia. In the year 1997, he went to Singapore to begin a PhD program at Nanyang Technological University. Such as that, university was setting up a strategic research program to complement Singapore's hard disk drive, semiconductor, and microelectronics manufacturing industries. During his PhD, Dr. Sivakumar worked as a novel phase shifting technique for measuring surface profile with nanometer accuracy in vibrating environments. He joined Concordia University as an assistant professor and CRC Tier 2 in 2004. Since the year of 2016, he has been a professor at Concordia. Not only was he working on metrology and micromachining, he was also teaching graduate and undergraduate courses in the Department of Mechanical Engineering. In the succeeding year, he and his team started working on laser-assisted 3D bioprinting together with collaborators on the Maisonneuve Rosemont Hospital. He has been serving as the Graduate Program Director for Science and Engineering Programs since 2012. He has been the treasurer for ASME Quebec Section 2000 since 2008 and a member of ISO TC 229 Workgroup for creating nanotechnological standards, representing Canadian interests in the ISO forum. He also served as associate editor for premier SPIE journal Optical Engineering. He has had 70 publications in peer-reviewed journals and conferences of high repute. He has around 500 citations and H index of 13. He has supervised 3 PhD and 13 graduate students thesis to completion. Currently, his research group in Concordia has 1 graduate and 2 PhD students working on cutting-edge research areas of optics and lasers. Welcome, sir. Very warm welcome to once again. I hope you enjoy the alumni talk just as much as we all do.
Yes, before sir starting the talk, I request Professor A. Rathinam, Director Alumni Affairs at SRMIST KTR campus, to give you opening remarks and the alumni affair activities. Sir Rathinam, sir, over to you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much, sir. A very pleasant good evening to none all present here. I take this opportunity to thank the Dr. Sujit Kalluri for giving me this opportunity to collaborate with both the directorates from SRM IST Katangulathur and SRM University Amaravati. And this is the 3rd event which we are doing it together. And always it is very pleasure, and especially even in the online forum, it is always pleasant to meet the our eminent alumni and how much they are willing to share their insights and experience to us. And they have been very much helpful. And through their lots of help in various forums and various activities, in the last 6 months, we have conducted around 70 plus conclaves throughout the various departments of all the faculty, all the colleges of engineering technology, physiotherapy, occupational therapy, nursing, pharmacy in Katangalathur campus, and also in College of Engineering Technology, Vadapalani, and also in NCR. So we have revamped the alumni activities by connecting the various alumni all over the globe. And that is the vision with which the Directorate of Alumni have been initiated in 2016. From there onwards, with the support of the higher management and all the vice chancellors, registrar and other deans and heads of the departments, it has been progressing well. Apart from that, as our Professor Sivakumar sir has already said, we have been continuously conducting the 25-year reunions. And in this year, in the May 1st, we are going to do it for the 1997 batch. Already the initiatives have been created. And be it offline or online, we would like to continue the same synergy with which we are conducting the various activities. Few things which are very remarkably being given as a novel idea from the alumni, like mentoring activities, and few activities are exclusively done for the faculty members alone. For example, School of Computing have been conducted with hands-on sessions only from the alumni and only for the faculty members. So we would like to infuse the alumni and their insights and their helping natures in all the academic activities, and make it as a alumni engagement as a strong pillar in all our activities. And I hope all the student friends who are here will definitely make use of this opportunity, and also faculty members for enriching their advanced knowledge from our professor Sivakumar sir. And also I would invite all the faculty members and student friends, and also the alumni who have, I could see some of the other alumni, since we have posted this in all our alumni WhatsApp groups, around 84 we have, which are in various places, based on the various places and countries. So I could see some alumni who have been joining. So we are very open. We are always welcome our alumni and the faculty members to create and utilize this platform for the innovative opportunities, and take it for the future, so that the everyone have their own enrichment and progressive natures. So I'd like to thank our management of both the universities, higher management, chief patrons, and heads of the departments, especially our Dr. Sujit sir, and our alumni for creating a wonderful opportunity. We have been eagerly waiting for this for the past 15 days. Thank you once again for creating such a memorable evening today. And we hope that we will continue this, as Professor has been very kind enough to be saying that 100% we will do their collaboration. I request the faculty members who have joined from the mechanical engineering to take up the initiatives, and we'll also support in whatever be the form from both the directorates of alumni affairs. And we'd like to continue such collaborations, especially in the online forum. We have the ability to quickly connect all over the globe. We would like to continue this collaboration even in the offline mode also. I earnestly request our Dr. Sujit Kaluri also to continue this collaboration for the benefit of both the universities. And once again, thank you for the opportunities. Thank you, sir, for joining with us and then enriching us. Thank you, sir. Thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you, Ratnam sir. Sivakumar sir, the stage is all yours.
Just give me 1 minute. I'm going to. Okay. So good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Time does not make sense, right? When we are in the online forum, you can join from anywhere in the world. Where I am, it's 7:30, 7:40 in the morning, -30 outside. So I'm happily sitting in the basement. Just finished a hot cup of coffee, and happy to be among friends. Thank you, Chandrika, for giving a huge accolades in the front of my student friends here. I don't know if I'm worth it, but those are things that normally people do, right? So, and as my wife used to say, I'm not only a professor, but also an action-minded one. I don't remember names that easily, but still, thank you, Sujit, and thank you, Dr. Ratnam, for giving me this opportunity. So, without going any further into all these things, we will just go into what we are here for today. Okay. So the screen here shows everybody you're quite close to graduating or recently graduated. The first thing that comes to your mind is, okay, what is it that holds for me in the future? So it's going to be nail biting. It's going to be tough. It's always sometimes going to be depressing. Sometimes you have everything in place. So it does not matter. Wherever in stage you are, you don't know what is going to be happening in the future, right? So it depends on person to person. So if you ask a person from computer science, the person might say, I want to land up a job in Infosys. If you want to ask a person in mechanical engineering, they will say that I want to land up in a job in Infosys. Okay? So if you have asked the same question to a civil engineer, they also wind up with a job in Infosys. But that's not the point. What future holds for you, in the sense, if you ask parents, they will say that you are good only for rearing cows and buffaloes, right? That's normal. Most of the parents would have said that at some point in time. If you go to a sage, or if you go to the corner horoscope wala, he is going to say that if you give me 1,000 rupees, I will do a homam and you can become this and that, right? It can be anything. But what really the future holds for you? That's the most important question that you ask yourself. It's not self-realization, or I'm not talking like Sadhguru. The idea is what future holds for you. The answer to that is you. Okay? So essentially, the best way to say what future holds for you is to create the future yourself. That way you can never go wrong, because you know what your future is going to be and you create it yourself. So the best way to predict the future is by creating it yourself. So this is one of the answers from a BTech student. The best way to predict the future is to create it. Now, if you remember some of the sayings from Swami Vivekananda, he used to say that dream. Abdul, from Vivekananda to Abdul Kalam, they have been saying the same thing, right? Dream big. And don't stop with the dream. Start working towards the dream. Feel every part of your body is working towards the dream. And you don't think anything else other than your dream. If you keep doing it, and not only dreaming, you keep working hard, right? So once you keep working hard towards achieving your dream, then that's the best way to get to where you wanted to be in the first place. So which essentially means that, as the picture implies, if you want to become a particular person, you sculpt your own self. That gives the title for this talk today. You sculpt your own future. Okay? So essentially, what the title says is what the title says is what the future holds for you, or how you sculpt your own future. But there are certain things that we will take a look at and how to go about doing it. Okay? That's essentially what you are going to do in the next 20-30 minutes. So there are going to be a lot of questions for sure, right? Who, why, what, when, and where. This is always, regardless of whatever situation you are. If you are starting to think about your future, who's going to help me? Why am I in this position? What should I do to become there? Anything you take at any snapshot of time, or any snapshot of the project that you are looking at in time or in space, these are the questions that you will be continuously asking yourselves, and you should be answering them yourselves as well. So that's the place where you need to be clear. So now, on today's topic, in your mind, you're going to think, who is this guy? First, why the hell is he here? Okay. Or is he going to waste 30 or 40 minutes of my time? Depends, right? So why do I sit in here and listen for this 30 or 40 minutes? What am I going to get at the end of the day? So these are the questions that comes out of you. And now, after I finish this, there is going to be certain things that are presented here, which I think may be useful to me, but when should I take the call as to use them? That's the next question that's going to be there. And if I decide to take the call at certain time, where is help available? What are the questions that I have to ask to which kind of people, and where should I be asking them, so that I can get the help in the next step of my career search? So these are the questions. And then always there is going to be, if there is any other things other than what we have discussed, then there is always the online forum and the emails and the contact details. So this is entirely the whole idea of this next 20 to 30 to 35 minutes that I'm looking at. So now, if you look at, there is something strange at the background. There is going to be, it's a crane or a heron or whatever you can say. It's on the background. There is a reason for that. If you are going to be patient for the next 15-20 minutes, it's going to be there at one of the slides. I will explain why this is there. Okay. So now, without much ado, let us go into see who Siva is. This is going to be slightly more smaller than what we have been discussing with what you saw in your papers and other things. So first and foremost, I graduated in 1993 from SRM Chennai. At that time, it was not an university, it was a SRM Engineering College. So very small one, but a very beautiful one in a nice place called Tokeri. That's a small village in Katanklotu, right? So it's a beautiful place. We love coming there. That's one of the most important things. I started in 1989, and the college had totally 180 times 4. That is the total number of students that is available. 720 students when I joined. Nothing more, nothing less. Just 2 buildings, one for the library and one for all the classes. So the library building, and there used to be a back building for mostly mechanical labs because those take up a lot of space, mechanical and civil labs. Computer and computer science, it's always a small computer lab. And besides that, there was an electronics lab. Very, very small, very small place, but beautiful one at that. I graduated in 1993, started work in a company called Fortech Engineers. Luckily, I started, at that time, the campus placements were not very strong. Professor Vijay Raghavan from Civil used to be the in charge for campus placements. I remember from back when the company was the principal. So we got some companies coming in, and I started 3 of my friends together. We started at Fortech Engineers. We used to make spray painting systems for all over India. I traveled a lot during that couple of years after I finished engineering. Then I decided, okay, we will talk about that also. I moved to Australia to do my master's. Once I finished my master's in 96, I came back to Singapore, started working in a small company called Alliance Systems. They used to make radio systems for aerospace companies. Yeah, so it was close to Singapore airport, very nice place. But while I was working there, I got an offer to, again, one of my students who did masters with me, he started with the PhD program at NTU, and we happened to meet on one of the bus stops during our commute, and I applied for the PhD program and I moved. So things went directly from there. So after I finished my PhD, I started working in Singapore. I was working as a research associate. Then I became a postdoctoral fellow. And then I moved into setting up the whole National Nanotechnology Corridor for Singapore. Once I was doing that, I got married, and then we set up, my wife was taking all the things. I used to go to work in the morning, and I give my resume will be there in the desktop. So she will go look at all the universities in USA and Canada. And she started applying for jobs. So she will sometimes call me and ask, okay, this is the job. What do you want me to start in the cover letter? I just give that pointer. She will apply to the jobs. So we applied close to about 75 to 80 applications from 2002 to 2003, around that. So within the first 6, 7, 8 months of my marriage. So she used to apply like crazy. And there was this place called Concordia. We never knew anything about Canada, mostly, at least something about Canada, but nothing about Quebec. And that's a small French province in Canada. Of course, it's a large province. It's bigger than Andhra Pradesh or Tamil Nadu. Okay, so it's a huge province. It's quite close to the size of India. So where we were looking at this small university, and it asked about something called Canada Research Chair. The title seemed to be very big. At that time, when I completed my PhD and worked for 3 years, I had about 13, 14 publications, which was not on the lower end, because normally PhD students will have 3, 4 to 5. 13 was slightly above average, to brag. Okay, there is nothing wrong. So what happened? My wife thought that, okay, it will be good for applying for a Canada Research Program. I said, no, it seems to be too prestigious, and I don't think I will get it. But since there is nothing wrong in applying, right? So we applied, and I got the call. I came to Canada. I did my interview. I went back. They selected for the Canada Research Chair, and we applied together with Concordia University to the government. So I was selected as the Canada Research Chair, and my appointment order and the letter included the invitation included a letter from the Canadian Prime Minister at that time. So because I was one of the 4,000 Canada Research Chairs that came off from all over the world, so it was a very prestigious program. So I went in with that. It came with a lot of funding. So I was able to start a cutting-edge laboratory with the funds, develop micromachining systems, metrology systems. And I got my tenure, which essentially means that I can say whatever I want to say, and nobody is going to say no about it. I can do whatever I feel like, especially with respect to research. I don't have to stick to certain norms. I can decide to pursue any dreams without any boundaries. So that gives me the freedom. So I got my tenure in 2009. I became the graduate program director in 2012, and I've been there since 2012. Became a full professor in 2016. And currently I have 2 PhD and 1 MPhD students working on mostly areas that are currently now I'm concentrating on bio devices, bioprinting for my PhD. And there is another one we are looking at bioimaging for another PhD student, while my master student is working on laser micromachining projects. There are 2 things that I'll be very interesting is, one is I'm the treasurer for the American Society of Manufacturing Engineering Quebec section. And I also is part of the Canadian Standards Association, which is CSA. So they have, every country has an ISO work group for specific standards. So you take care of that country's interest if you are in that work group. So ISO T29 is going to be the work group on nano standards. I represent the Canadian interests on that work group. So these are things that just give a brief idea about me. But this is not going to help you much, right? Except knowing certain things about me as to who I am in the place. But what will be more interesting to you is to know about the university and other things. I'll give you a brief snapshot of where I work. So these are the 2 things. The first one on the top left is the university building. It's not a shopping mall, okay? So it's not a shopping mall in Vijayawada or in Sterling Road. It's a university which is called as, this particular building was built after I went. So it was built in 2005. And my office is in the 4th floor. This building is specifically called as the EV building because we want collaboration between engineering and visual arts. So essentially this is the building. And the one that you see on the right is the Montreal everyone loves. This is the one that is going to have 4 distinct seasons with amazing changes, and you change your lifestyle according to the seasons. It's one of the most beautiful cities, and most of the people in North America feel that this is a small European city in North America. Very classy and very, very cozy. Small streets, you have small cars, extremely cold winters, extremely hot summers. One of the beautiful cities. There is no complaints that I came here. The university itself has 4 faculties. We have the John Molson School of Business if you are interested, and if you want to become like Sundar Pichai later, finish your engineering, get into the MBA. So it depends. You have Faculty of Arts and Science, you have John Molson School of Business, you have Computer Science and Engineering, and the Fine Arts, of which I'm coming from the Faculty of Engineering Computer Science. I work in the Department of Mechanical Engineering, while there is Civil, Computer, Electrical, and a specific university department called Institute of Information Systems Engineering, where they talk about network security, so on and so forth. So within the department, we have Mechanical Engineering, Industrial Engineering, both undergrad program, master's program, and a PhD program. And we also recently started the Aerospace Engineering. Right now, we have a separate department of chemical engineering, but it's not fully set up yet. So as a graduate program director, I also take care of admissions into chemical engineering if you are going to do research. So, but within a couple of years, we will have it as a separate school with its own functioning department. The administration of the chemical department is currently with the mechanical. The design and manufacturing, thermofluid, controls and automation, and aerospace vehicle engineering are the basic streams that you can graduate from within the mechanical engineering program. And I work on the design and manufacturing stream, whether it is in the undergraduate or in the graduate level. For my research, I use 3 things that are most important. I network with peers, whoever is in that area, somebody working in MEM, somebody working in biology, somebody working in chemistry. I like to network. Whoever is in the field that is niche and that I can contribute and they can contribute. If it is going to be complementary, we network and work together. HQP, essentially what I'm talking about, training high quality personnel. This becomes an important aspect. When I set up a lab, I get the students to do the interferometers, students to develop the systems. So they get hands-on training. So they move on to the workforce after. Laboratory is another thing. If you see the slide on the bottom, you will see that metrology and micromachining laboratory. That is the laboratory that I develop and I still maintain. To give you a rough idea of the areas that I work on, I work on micro machining, which means that doing things that are very, very, very small. And if I do things very, very small, if you see here the difference, this is my micro gear that I'm talking about. Let us see if I can annotate. So if this is going to be my gear, micro gear that I'm doing, this is the micro gear in comparison with the size of the ant's head. So I will do two things, both from the manufacturing aspect and from the metrology aspect, to be able to measure and see what it is, and if it follows all the dimensional norms and accuracy. Okay, enough about me. I have talked enough because my wife is still sleeping and I've been married for 20 years. This is the only time I can talk about myself, right? Okay, so now why am I here? This is the next question that should be gnawing at your brain, right? So the primary reason is I have been where you were and I have done what you have done. So biting my nails, constantly worrying about what's going to be holding for me in the future. In 1993, I was a lump of mass that did not know what to do. So which is going to be very similar to most of the situation here, where I was in a position that I don't know anything about my future. So I've been there, I've done that. So it's a good thing that I learned a few things on what should I do and what I shouldn't do over the last 25 years, that I should be able to coming out and tell people that helps the process a bit more easy. That's the only thing that we can do. Still, the effort that you put in is the one that's going to create the result. But what we can do is guide you in the right direction. The reason for the ability to guide in the right direction is, right now we can think of the wise old man sitting on top of the mountain. The reason the person is considered wise is because when I'm climbing the mountain, if I'm climbing the mountain, I see the rock in front of me. But if I'm top of the mountain, I see all around. So the person who's climbing up will not be able to see what is behind the mountain, but the person sitting on top of the mountain for sure can. So when you are at a height, what you can see is you can see all around, and you will be able to tell the person is coming from there. Okay, don't take this path. That's going to be difficult. I tried that. Why don't you take something more easier when you are moving towards your right or to the left? Okay. So that's the kind of thing that can be told when you are sitting up. That's one of the advantages. It does not mean that we are sitting up. What I'm implying is, as an alumni, finished long back, we have the time as the experience that put us in a position where we have seen so many things around us that I can be able to share a few things with you along the way. That's essentially what I'm coming down to. Okay. Okay. So what am I going to do with that? Obviously, I'm going to give you an advice, right? That's normal. And the easiest thing to do is always advise someone else. If it is going to be following or not, that is different. But to tell someone else what they should do is the easiest thing in the world. And it's free. Now, the next question you should ask yourself, what if it is free? It is not like Facebook or Instagram. I don't even know what the third one is, and Google. So when something is free, you are the product. And that is going to be holding good even at this juncture. What I'm trying to say is you are going to be the product during the next 20 minutes. But what the product is, exactly what you want to be at the 10 years from now or 15 years from now. So the product is you, but you are going to sell yourself, which means that you are going to market yourself, which means that you are going to sculpt yourself to be in the position where you want to be. So you are the product, right? Not like Facebook or Instagram, where I say that write 200 items and they take your data and then sell it across. That's not the product that we are. So essentially, this is what we want to do in the next few minutes. So what are the things that I'll be looking at as a recent graduate or the ones that I'm about to graduate? So few things that are important. I'm just going to, I'm having 10 points that we'll be looking at, of which the first 7 or 8 are going to be what you should be doing specifically. And then the last 2 are more generic. Okay? So let us take each and every, so the first 8 points that are going to be specific, I'll give you some real life examples and go about in the next few minutes. So the easiest thing to say is follow your heart. That's the first and foremost. Right after you finish your engineering, or when you are about to finish your engineering, you can have a lot of things in your mind. You want to take up GRE, TOEFL, you want to get into US for doing masters, perfectly fine. Or you want to go to Australia or Canada without taking GRE or TOEFL, but you still want to do masters, you can go into Australia or Germany, where there are a lot of opportunities. Even they pay you if you want to study masters at German university because of declining population rate. So there are options that you can look at, but your heart is the one that should be guiding you, because heart is going to be a very, very powerful compass that's going to tell you what direction is going to be right for you. Listen to it. So don't hear it, but listen to it. When you listen, it's we also call in multiple different terms. We say gut feeling. So gut is the one that is help you in the digesting, right? It should be active, the gut feeling, follow your heart. So you use body parts for explanation. So following your heart clearly tells that if you decide to, if you are passionate about something. So what is the one that is motivating you? Getting out of Andhra Pradesh or Tamil Nadu, is that what is motivating you? What do I want to do? How do I travel? What are the things that I should start working towards that? Okay? So what motivates you? So essentially, what is the passion, which is going to be driving you ahead? Because you have to think about one thing. I can finish my engineering. I can go and work in a company that does software coding. Okay? So I learned the techniques and trade for coding. I go and work. I get paid 30 or 40,000 per month. I live a happy life, decent life. That's fine. On the other side, if you look at it in a different manner, I love coding. I enjoy coding. Okay. I'm going to breathe coding. And when I do coding, I'm going to be very, very, very happy. Now, if you keep that, if you are passionate about your coding, now what is going to happen? You are not working in a company. You are entertaining yourself in that company while you are doing the coding, right? So coding is an example, it need not be the case. So when you are doing your work, essentially you are having fun. Now, somebody is paying you for having fun. That's the best thing, right? What else you want? Somebody is paying you for you to have fun. So which means that if your job, if you consider it as the fun. So if you are going to do something that you are passionate about, which means that you don't feel anything hard. So at some point when you start feeling that, okay, when is the lunchtime going to come at work? You are in the wrong work. That's one thing that you need to remember. Because you are not passionate about work, you are thinking about something else. So if you are passionate about the work that you are doing, you think someone else is paying you for you to have fun. That's the ideal situation. So the most important thing is to find your passion, work towards the passion, market yourself to get into the job that is going to be driving your passion. And what are the things that you should show is, if you are passionate about certain things, then you need to explain the way that the person that is going to hire you is going to understand that, okay, this passion is going to rub off on my company and it's going to help me grow while it grows the person who's applying for the job. So since you are competing with many other persons, you don't have to tell what you can do. You have to put yourself in the shoes of the company. You should be able to say that what that I will do will help you go from here to here. So now the perspective changes. So that's one thing where you can have the competitive advantage or edge, if you like, to grab that offer. So that is the most important thing. So while I say follow your heart, I'm just going to give you a classic example that you see here. This is a person that you are seeing, the young guy. So the old guy is the father. He is a normal electrician in Delhi. And to the right, you see is Muhammad Amir Ali. He came into limelight in 2018 because of he got a diploma, because he was trying for getting engineering. He was passionate about it. He was very, very interested in engineering, but he took the entrance exam, he even got good mark, but he didn't get mechanical engineering. So he did not wither away with that failure. So he took diploma in mechanical engineering because his father was not a very, very rich person. So modest family upbringing. So he had to start earning his own bread at some point in time. So he started doing diploma, and he continuously started taking the exams every year as well. 3 times he failed. That's on one side. But on the other side, he was passionate about science and technology. So he was interested and he started researching electric vehicles, and he created a battery management system that gave an opportunity to reduce the cost of charging and reduce the cost of maintaining the battery charging infrastructure for electric vehicles. So he put this project up for one of the college exhibitions, like the research day that you have in SRM Amravati and in Chennai. So he put up such a project, and one of the professors got interested and took up this project and put it on the university website. Now, he got an offer from Prison Electrics in USA, and this is the first time. See, Jamia Millia Islamia is one of the oldest universities in India, and they have been offering diploma for a long time. 2018, when he grabbed a $100,000 offer from the United States, that is the largest offer for a student with a diploma. Okay, so his story came out in Hindu, it came out in Times of India and so many other places. Okay, now he is developing the whatever things that he learned things that he learned during his diploma course, and the research that he did on electric vehicles. He is following the path, and he is doing extremely well in North Carolina. Okay? So this is one of the examples that you can look at. So as I said, follow the heart is whatever you are passionate about. If you work towards it, there is no way you are going to miss it. That is one point. Then the next thing that you have to remember is make connections. So if you remember, when I was talking about a few things, I was telling that when I was working, when I was studying in SRM, I moved to a company along with 3 other friends. So one of the friends, uncle knew the owner of the company, so he got the job, and there was no advertisement or anything. It's a small business, so network. So I knew about it, and then someone else knew about it. We 3 went in and joined. Same thing. I moved to Australia because some of my friends and peers went from my own city. So I thought, why not take a look at and apply? Moving from Australia, when I came to Singapore, I was working in a company. I saw my friend smoking in the bus stop. So we were discussing, and I asked him what he was doing. Then he said, why don't you apply? So what happens is, if you maintain this friendship past the time, see, at that time when I was talking, we were not familiar with the email was a concept at that time. I don't even know if many people remember Hotmail. Hotmail was a thing at that time in 1994, 95. And the Nokia phones that we were having, the cell phones, if you drop, we should not be worried about the phone breaking. We should be worried that if it falls on your leg, your phone might break. They'll be heavy, they'll be big, and they can do only phone calls. But life was simpler at that time. So we didn't have social media, we didn't have any types of contact. So if you don't take pains to keep in touch, you can't keep in touch, right? So maintaining connections help along the way. That becomes very, very important. So networking is the key. That you get the network. It could be professors. So whoever you are working with, start with them. Co-workers, if you start in a company and you can talk about few things to co-workers, so you can find out there is an opening in another place you want to move. LinkedIn is another place. You can put up your profile and say that, okay, I'm looking for a job in this particular area. And you give a request. It's not like Facebook friend request. You request for connections with specific people that you are passionate about in LinkedIn. If they find you interesting, then you are going to become a follower or connected with them. Then you grow your connections. So what happens if you post certain things on LinkedIn? It gets noticed, and it takes time, essentially, right? So keeping in touch, putting other people's thinking ahead of you, these are some things that will help you grow your network. The most important thing, however, is remember, it is much easier these days, right? When people can maintain friendship over a long time, before the time of WhatsApp and Facebook, imagine this is going to be much easier, right? So where it helps, there are a few things that you need to remember. Most of the time, there are jobs that you can get right out of the bat. You finish your engineering, you take the on-campus interviews, you're directly absorbed into the force. That's perfectly fine. Sometimes you don't get it, or you don't want the job that you are offered. You want something else. They are not going to be, every time there are not going to be online advertisements. Sometimes word of mouth. So one of the person who's already working in the company, they tell that person that, okay, why don't you, if you know anybody in your university, can you get them? Now there is a link that's forming, right? So no advertisement, nothing. So you can follow so many things, but if you don't have a network, you don't get the job. So that's one thing that you need to look at. So most often the jobs you end up with are going to be through word of mouth. So genuine conversations, putting themselves ahead of you, those kind of things can help you build a network. So again, a small story from the Indian scenario that I'm going to give is Vishu Gandhi. She is from Punjab. So she was working with Infosys, probably finished her engineering. So which essentially means that she should be from either Tamil Nadu or Andhra, right? People were forced to become engineers all the time by parents. So Rishi Gandhi was working with Infosys. And network, we were talking about network. So she used to eat lunch with friends, and one of the friends that she was talking during lunchtime was a recent mom. So the person gave birth to a child, and she had come back after maternity, and they were having lunch together. And they just started discussing about the problems that she is facing as a young mother. So one of the things that she was telling is like something like, okay, I couldn't come to work yesterday. I couldn't sleep yesterday because my son developed rashes because we are using wipes constantly. My son developed rashes all over the body. So this kind of conversation started Rishu thinking about researching baby products. Okay. So it's like something like I work at Google and I Google at work. She was Googling at work basically. So which essentially means that she was researching baby products. And at that point, when you start looking at what are the things that are available and what is that is needed, she found that, okay, organic, eco-friendly baby products were still sparse. They were not available. So that sparked something in her mind. And she started a company called Mother Splash, which after initial struggles, she couldn't market her product with Johnson's and Johnson's of the world and the Huggies and the Pampers. She was not competitive enough, but she relentlessly worked towards it. And now she is selling close to about 50-60 lakhs turnover per month. That's the level of improvement that she had from 2015 to 2022. So Rishi Gandhi is an example where, of course, making connection is only the part, it's the spark, right? It's her work that's going to push towards, but what the implication is making connections. You can use this as an example at any different point, whether as an entrepreneur, whether as a relentless worker, whether for making connections. I'm using this example to show that the small discussion at lunchtime with your coworker had a meaningful impact, primarily because you are not just giving talks, like you're not just talking like, hey, what is that? How are you? Okay, forget it. That's not the kind of talk. Having meaningful conversations help you in the next step. The third, the most important thing is comfort zone. Okay. So comfort zone. What do you mean by getting out of your comfort zone? It's one of the easiest things to say. People always say that get out of your comfort zone. What do you mean by getting out of your comfort zone is essentially it's like this. I like to sleep until 7:38 in the morning. That's perfectly fine. But that's my comfort zone because morning it's going to be very, very cold in the place where I am. And it will be easier to get up a bit later because sun comes only at 7:30 in the winter. So it's better to get up late. But that's my comfort zone because I'm inside a comforter. I'm happy, cozy, I'm hot. Why not? But my work is going to suffer. So that's a small example, right, from the waking up part. If I get up at 5:30, if I go to my gym at 1, do my 1 hour of exercise, I get all the adrenaline that is needed. It's pumping up. I go to work, I work better. So that is, I'm getting out of my comfort zone. Same thing, if you take it geographically, comfort zone. I was in India, happy, near the beach, 35 to 45 degrees. I'm still happy if I go there. but that's my comfort zone. I have never tested myself on colder conditions. If I move to Montreal, it's going to be cold. At 16 degrees, I was crying. When I came here on August, they said August is the nicest month and it was 16 degrees. I was shivering when it rained. But that was in 2004. Now at minus 30, I talk differently, and my kids are very, very comfortable with the cold. But that's getting outside your comfort zone. It's not easy to do, but it is a stretch that you have to constantly do it yourself. So there are few things that happens when you try to get out of your comfort zone is learning new skill. You need to always learn new skill to get out of your comfort zone. That is the first and foremost thing. Okay. So, and what happens when you get out of the comfort zone? This is the next important thing. When you get out of your comfort zone, you are going to feel awkward. That's the most important thing that you need to remember. It's like a duck. One of the easiest thing to look at is when the duck is in the water, it looks so beautiful and nice. But when it comes out, it's going to be not as good as you would see it in the water. It's because water is duck's comfort zone. But what happens is it likes to feel awkward, but it does not stop it from coming outside and doing its own job, right? So essentially, you should not feel awkward to stay away from your comfort zone. So it's okay to feel, it's okay to be awkward. It's okay to be uncomfortable for the first few months, first few days, first few hours, first few years. Depends on what type of comfort zone you are referring to. If you get out of it, okay? If you get out of your comfort zone, work towards learning new techniques so that you move from the awkward position to getting comfortable in the new position. At that point, you have enough skill set in the new area that you can become successful. Classic example, if you like, is the COVID-19 scenario. So many people made it big, right? So while there are others who are cringing, who are sitting, what happened to the world? China is taking over India. You can worry so much. But at the same time, there were some people who are taking things in their hands, used the change to the best, and became rich during that time, right? So the most common thing that we say here is as an inspiring quote is, winners. If you look at winners, they don't do different things. What they do is they do things in a different way compared to the regular population. That's the most important thing. So you need to strive hard. You need to think, work outside your comfort zone and see where you can make a contribution. That's one thing that can help you. I was looking at multiple different things as an example, but since most of the audience is going to be from South India, I cannot use this. I cannot avoid using this. Okay, so this is Kangana Ranaut. No, it's not Kangana Ranaut. I'm making fun. She is. If there were a lot of North Indians, I would have said that it's Kangana Ranaut and they have accepted. But this is what Kangana Ranaut acted as. She's our ex-chief minister. Where is the comfort zone coming in? I don't know if many of you know about her. She is one of the celebrated student in Church Park Convent in Chennai. She is extremely good in studies to the extent that she had one of the highest marks in her O-level exam, or what we call the 10th standard exam. At that time, there was the PUC, 11th standard exam. So secondary school exam, she was the topper in her school. So she was extremely gifted with the education. But her mother was an actress. And they were not very, very rich. They come from, they had rich upbringing when Jayalalitha was young. And her father wasted a lot of money on leisure. On her own word, she used to say, my father was a man of leisure. So he wasted a lot of money on leisure and ended up dead earlier than many people thought. So her mother had to take care of the family. And she was forcing Jayalalitha to come out of education and get into acting because that's going to pay more. So Jayalalitha was very, very comfortable in the educational setting. She used to study and easily get her marks, and she was the star student. But she moved away from her comfort zone, started working with few directors like Sridhar. And because she was very, very intelligent, she couldn't work with people who did not have that right kind of education at the young age. So she was extremely pushy. She had a strong attitude. So she had to, she took help from some of the older directors who told her that this is not the way things work, you need to change. So she adapted to the change. She became one of the successful actresses the Tamil cinema ever saw. And at the same time, while she was getting comfortable with the acting, she moved into politics, again against her own will. She got out of the comfort zone of acting in the nicer movies. She moved into politics, and then rest is history. She became the chief minister, one of the most coveted positions, right? So getting out of your comfort zone, that's the most important thing. You will feel awkward at the initial time because she was good in studies, but when she came into the cinema, she was being ridiculed. She was made fun of and all those things, but she came out of it as a stronger person. Same thing. If you see Talaivi movie, what Kangana Ranaut acted, you could see some of the things there. She was ridiculed as a politician. She was considered as an actress, but why did she come into politics? She was ridiculed every step of the way. She felt awkward, but she moved on, right? So getting outside your comfort zone, that's very, very important as well. Now, this is one of the things that the fourth thing is volunteer. So now we were talking about few things. You get a job, you work on it. You don't get a job, you keep looking for it. So these are the two things, right? So now while you are looking for the job, so there are some things that are very common. It's going to be a vicious circle. Sometimes the job might advertise and they want people, you go out to the interview, they say that you don't have experience. Now, if you don't have experience, you don't get a job. If you don't get a job, you don't get an experience. Now we are talking about a circle that's going to be vicious in nature, right? You're going back and forth. So one of the best methods to get out of that is go and volunteer. So you can say that, okay, I'll forget it. You want somebody to do the job. I will do it. And you have a problem because you think I'm inexperienced. So don't pay me. It's fine. I'm going to volunteer, do the job. What it does is, while you volunteer, you think you are giving. But what you are giving, you are getting more than what you are giving. So there are a lot of self-help groups. There are non-profit organizations that require volunteer. You need to be resourceful. And again, when you say volunteer, you need to remember that this is not your primary job. Okay? So make sure that you have space for searching your primary job, attending your interviews. Try to keep it as part-time. Try to keep it as hours that are slightly more manageable easily. And at that time, what you can do is essentially you will be able to work. You learn a lot of things. You learn new skill sets like how to work in a group. What are the things that these people consider important? Communication. So you sharpen yourself with the real world knife on the other end. So you come out of it sharper than before. So now you have the work experience. You have things that you could do yourself. And at the same time, it opens up the world in front of you. So what you think was your passion might already change if you volunteer. Your passion might be different. You could do something else completely. Okay? So that's one thing that is very, very important when you are looking at volunteering. Okay, so this is a classic example. I have two of these. These are the most common that everyone else should know. This is the Jesus on the cross crucified, and this is the ABD symbol, right? ABT transport. No, it's not ABD transport symbol. It's Hanuman crossing Lanka to go and give the message to Sita. So what are the two things that signify? Jesus Christ, he volunteered. What did he volunteer for? He volunteered to go on the cross for what? For the sins humanity committed until then. He said he will voluntarily sing the cross so that the humanity can be forgiven. That's one of volunteering. That's the more spiritual level. Now, the second thing is Hanuman. He was having great affinity towards Lord Rama. And he said, okay, I will volunteer to cross the ocean. I don't know if I can. The distance is far away, but I'm committed for the cause. So I will make the effort. And he was successful. So these are two common examples that you can see in mythology or history or whatever you want to call it. But these are the two examples that tell volunteering. What happens? He learned about himself. Hanuman learned about himself that he is going to be able to fly across the river, across the sea. And Jesus learned something at that point. He is revered even until today because he was working. So you can look at it at the spiritual level or at the local level. But the idea is you volunteer, you get more than you give. That's essentially the output. Uh, okay. Focus on what you can and what you can. This is another important thing. When I'm having focus, I need to focus on things that I can. A classic example that I will say is on the things that you have control. So if I go to the bank, okay, at this scenario, I know that I need to be respecting 2 meters distance. I need to be wearing a mask. I need to wash my hands, right? So those are things that are common protocol that is developed. So now I go to the bank, I wash my hands, I wear my mask up to my nose, and I get out. I make sure I see someone wearing on the other side a mask which is not covering the nose, or I see a person entering the bank without rubbing his hand with alcohol. So there are 2 things that I can do. I can either move far away from the person who did not wash their hands, or I can start worrying, what if it is going to give me the virus? So what is under my control, what is not under my control? The reaction is the only thing that I have in my control. I can either react in a way that I move away from the person who I think is not doing things properly. That is one of the reaction. Or I can stay where I was and I can start worrying, what if the virus comes and eats me? Both are my reactions, but one is the more useful one because I have control over it. I know that this person is not washing his hands. So I need to stay away from that person so as not to contact the virus. So that is under my control. I can still say to that person, you can wash your hands. The person might or might not listen. It might increase or decrease my blood pressure depending on the situation, but those are things. So you need to focus on things that you can control, not the ones that you cannot. Okay. So this slide gives a rough idea into what I can control. Having a positive attitude, switch off the news is the best thing that you can do to yourself because they are going to keep on continuously harassing you with bad news. The best thing is to switch off the news. Limiting your social media where they give all the conspiracy theories out. Everybody in WhatsApp is a doctor. Everybody in WhatsApp is a virologist, right? So you switching off the social media, limiting your time on social media to a minimum will help. See how you can help others who are in need. These are things that you can control, so you can focus on them. So another example from my mythology for this is going to be, I know many of you will be familiar with this. When Dronacharya asked his disciples to shoot the eye of a wooden bird, okay? And that was a lesson. So everybody got ready and they were asked to tell what they see. So when Yudhishthira came in, he said, I could see the sky, I could see the sun, I can see the tree on which the bird is sitting on. Okay, Dronacharya asked him to stay outside and asked him to shoot. He essentially failed. Now he asked the second most famous disciple of him, Aswatthama, and I asked him, okay, what do you see? Aswatthama is also his son, right? So he asked Aswatthama, what do you see? He said, I'm seeing the tree, I'm seeing the mango beside the bird, and then the bird. So he is more focused. Now he asked his most famous disciple Arjuna what he sees. Arjuna said, I don't see anything other than the bird's eye. That's all. So that is the kind of focus. So everybody will miss, and this is the only person who is going to hit because he is not only focusing, but the focus is also, and he is focusing on things that he can control. That's the lesson that learned from this, right? So if you take the stories from Mahabharata, Ramayana, or Iliad, Homer, or any of these, essentially all those stories, whether we can debate it as whether it happened or not is not important. How it is useful to us is more important, right? So what you learn from that is more important than worrying about if the story is real or not. That is what is happening now. We are worried about things that are not under our control. Instead, we can focus on how do I take that story and make it useful for me. If everyone start doing what they are supposed to do, things will become much more easier. The sixth thing that I want to talk about is create your own job. So while we are talking about many things, you are looking for a job, you are not getting one, or you have an excellent idea, okay, and you have relentless work ethic. So these three things should combine. Okay? So you need to have an excellent idea, you need to have relentless work ethic. You don't give up easily. You need to have a strong attitude. You are not going to tire yourself easily, and you are going to work hard. So if these three are there, okay, and if you have them in lots, then you move into the entrepreneurial track. There are a lot of ideas, there are a lot of resources available. Even within campus, you have the idea, you have the Make in India initiative. Other common example I could see is one of my friends from the 1993 batch. He moved to California. We are talking about 97, 98. He developed an, when the smartphone revolution came in the 2003, I guess, he developed an app, and that got attention from Google, and he got invited. He got the first prize to go and settle in California for about 6 months and make it big. So he did, and he came back to India. He is doing extremely well now. Now he is also having a petrol pump, and he is making a good. He is having a happy living. Now he is looking for his daughter's education in US. So that's on one side. But what happens is, do it yourself. The best way to create a job that you like is going to be the one that you're going to do it yourself. So you create your own job. What you do, instead of a job seeker, you become a job provider. So if you create your own job, within 5 or 6 years, you are going to employ 7 or 8 people, or thousands, or 10,000, depending on the growth that you are looking at, right? So create your own job. Jump onto the entrepreneurial train. That's one thing that you can do. So you move from seeker to provider. What you are getting at the end of the day, you might become rich. You might become rich, or you might not become as rich as you wanted to be. But what you would always have is, whatever you did, you are going to have satisfaction in the work that you did. So satisfaction is a guarantee if you create your own job, right? That's the most important thing. So at the end of the day, you are going to live happily with your decision, because it was your decision. It was not forced on you. It was your idea. You had all the things that you wanted. So you did what you want. That's the most important thing. So again, 2 examples that I see here. One from Gujarat. This is Kalpesh Patel. He had polio, and he had vaccination, but his immune response system did not work. So he became a paraplegic. So he had to be in the wheelchair right from the age of 5. He lost his legs, but not his will. So now he is one of the largest diamond traders in Gujarat. He's probably the richest man in Gujarat, leaving aside Ambani's and Adani's example, who have moved to Bombay. So essentially, diamond trading is very famous around Ahmedabad and Surat, right? So he started as a small, he took over his father's business, which was a small diamond cutting business. It was a very, very modest earning. So he moved across, he stopped his education, but he worked, and relentless work ethic. He created a huge market for his diamonds, and now he is one of the richest men in Gujarat. He is a father of 2 kids. He married, and he is very, very well settled in. So that's one example. The second one is more closer to home, Hyderabad. He owns a tea shop called Nilufar Tea Shop. They make Iranian tea that's very famous around Hyderabad. I don't know. I have been to Hyderabad. I've seen Karachi Bakery, but I've never seen Nilufar Tea Shop. Maybe I was not introduced at the right time. But this Babu Rao, he was a cleaner in that tea shop during his young age. So he started as a tea shop a cleaner. Then he moved on to learning the concept of making the Iranian tea, which used to be famous around that time. And then once the owner had no one to pass the thing on to, he was ready to grab the opportunity and bought the tea shop. And now he is one of the most famous person in Hyderabad owning the tea shop. It's one of the famous tea shops that make Iranian tea. And he is revered all over for the taste of the tea that is being made around that place. Again, now what started as a worker in the tea shop, now he is employing many people in his tea shop, right? So those are the things that you move from a provider, seeker to a provider when you create your own job. The next important thing that you need to be looking at is be open to change. Anytime things can go south, things can go north, you should be ready to change. So if you take a look at what is Google, or if you Google the word open to change, say that you need to be fluid. You need to be adaptable. You need to be flexible. You need to be open-minded. So whatever it is. resisting old values is important. Instead of saying that I don't want to change, you can say embrace change, accept. So that's one of the important things. So change is a door that can be opened from inside. It's a very famous saying, which essentially means that if you want to change, you have to do it yourself. Somebody else cannot make you go from one place to another. You have to do it from the inside. So change is a door that opens only from inside. Okay. So if you decide in your job that, okay, this job is not doing what it's supposed to do, I'm getting bored, you should be ready to change. If the engineering profession, I did mechanical engineering, I don't feel as a mechanical engineer, I need to move away. You should be ready for that. I did my computer science. Okay, I'm not interested in doing coding. I'm going to be more towards marketing. You should be ready. So you should be able to be adaptable, and you should. But only thing is, it's not that you just rudely decide I'm going to change and let's change. That does not work. You need to develop the skill sets that are needed for the change. So if you know I don't want to go here, I move towards the right. I need to take the call, and I need to develop myself along the direction to be successful. So these are some of the common examples that you see. This is Brad Pitt. I don't know, most of you would have known him before Angelina Jolie. Some of them who are big fans of Angelina Jolie like me knew about him. Not after Angelina, I knew about him because I was also a fan of Jennifer Aniston. That's a different story. Okay. So Brad Pitt, he is a very famous actor now, but he started his life as a limo driver. He used to move party models. So people who do party hopping, right? So he moved people from one party to other on a limousine. A decent kind of job, but he took acting classes in the part-time. This is what I said. So on one side, he was earning his bread and butter by driving his limousine. And since he was driving for parties, most of the time the job was from 6 to 12 o'clock in the night. But that gave him the free time in the morning. So he studied acting courses because he was passionate about acting. So he did the acting courses and he became successful. He got a small role and then he never looked back. He always went up from there. Then this one is, I don't know, many of you know him. It's Harry Styles. My daughter would be happy if she saw that I'm using his photo here. She's a big fan. He became one of the leading icons in singing. They started a group called One Direction. He's from the X Factor group that does the program in the US. Simon Cowell and their group. Okay? So he was a baker. He was earning $7 per hour in a small town in England. And he came to that X Factor, tuned the singing skills, and he joined with few other British boys in the X Factor, and they created a band called One Direction. And now his fortune is worth $20 to $30 million. Okay? So he's one of the richest guys that made it big. So, and when he moved from the $7 per hour to the singing, he was only 16 at that time. He was one of the young guys. Okay? So right now they broke up in 2015 when they were 20 or something. He is 24, 25 now, and he's $25 million worth. This is the one that's more closer to home, Boman Irani. Most of you would have seen Three Idiots, know who he is. He was a waiter at the Taj. Open to change. He was ready to do acting classes while waiting. He did small roles, and then no turning back. He became one of the most famous character actors, right? So those are things that became important. The last one is more closer to my heart. I don't know if many of you know him. Even if I say the name of the book, he wrote the famous book called Origin of Species. He was a medical student. He did a lot of research on the species, and he gave out the theory of evolution. Now probably we know he was the one who found our forefathers were monkeys. Okay, so we have to credit him for that. He is Charles Darwin. So everybody, when they are passionate about something, when you move and you develop the skill sets that are needed for your change, you are going to be successful. So be open to change. At the same time, be ready to take the steps. Make use of campus services. So there are a lot of campus services. So you essentially, I could relate to some of the things that you do now. One is the training modules that are given for on-campus students. Closer to their final year, you develop yourself on specific training, whether it is mechanical engineering or civil engineering or computer science, or for normal people who are interested in getting a job that is on coding. So you do specific classes, you brush up what you learned in engineering that serves as the bridge from the university to the external world. Please don't take that as a burden. It's going to help you hone your skills and get you in the right place. Okay, so that's important. Make use of that. Keep in touch with the campus placement office. Find out what is important, what is not. Here, I will also give some pointers for people who are in the campus placement office or the student of academic affairs. Here in Concordia, we have the facility where we do so many things other than just helping the student in getting the job. What we do is we help in resume creating. So we'll have a school of, we have a continuous education school that is slightly away from the departments. So they train students on communication, they train students on interview, how to perform in the interview. They train students on how to write their own resume, how to market themselves, so many things. And we have a district 3, very similar to what you have as idea here. We have a district 3 that's more functional. And if you go out with an idea, they are going to tell you how to move that idea into the next level, how to do market research, how to place yourself in the niche, how to be able to write a business proposition, how to talk to venture capitalists, how to gain money, and how to invest, how to work towards your startup dream. So those are things that we do here in the D3 or District 3. So it's very similar to that is being planned and ideas. So make use of all these facilities. This is the most important thing. So the essential idea at this point is use whatever help that is available. Whether you start from going back to networking, start from your seniors who recently completed and got a job, who are your peers who are waiting to get a job, who moved to another country or doing their masters or on a job, anything. So keep a lookout, maintain that, use all the services that are available in your campus to get the best skill sets to move from one world to the other world. In one world, you are on the theoretical side. So you are learning stuff and you think that is going to be useful. In the next world, what you are seeing is whatever you are learned, you are going to be applying where it's going to be of real use. So that's one thing to be looking at. The last point that is very, very important is one is I'm a avid reader. Okay, so one of the first books I read was Not a Penny for Not a Penny Less. Many of you would be familiar with the author called Jeffrey Archer, right? So the starting first chapter, you open the book, this is the first thing that you will see. Making a million legally has always been difficult. Making a million illegally is easier though, but keeping a million when you have made it is perhaps the most difficult of all. So making a million legally has always been difficult. It needs time. Patience is a virtue. So if you remember, I told about the first slide where I put a story of the heron or the crane. So there is a very famous saying in Tamil. There is an Avayar, is a very famous lady poet of older times. So we are talking about the medieval Avayar. We are talking about around 1100, 1200 AD. Around that time. Adakam udayar arivilar endrenni kadakka karudavum venda madaithalayil odumin oda urumin varumalavum vaadi irukkumam pokku. Okay, so it might be Greek and Latin to some of my friends from Andhra, but essentially the idea is if you see a heron, it will be waiting in one leg inside the water. What it's doing, it's like the traffic constable in the roads, right? They will be seeing this guy is going in TVS 50, leave it. There is one guy driving a bullet. Now that's a 3 lakh vehicle, right? So if I catch him, I'll be able to, if I catch that person, I'll be able to get some 100, 200 rupees. Okay, I'll catch that person. But the same person will not catch anyone driving a BMW because he is worried, even though the guy is richer, the person might be son of a politician. So they won't touch that. So they will go in between those that are not very, very rich, but rich. So that they can, so that's exactly what the crane is doing. So if you think the crane is all the fishes they pass across, they think that, okay, this crane is a stupid one. It's not going to eat because it's waiting. No, it's not. It's waiting for the fish of the right size. Okay. Odu mean water. When all the fishes are running, uru mean varumalavu, the biggest fish. It's waiting for the biggest fish to catch. So that's the very important thing. So patience is a virtue. So when you wait, what you are waiting for, there are few things that you are waiting for. Recognition, it might not happen overnight. You could see in WhatsApp, they will say that I started my company, I became a millionaire the next day. No, it does not happen like that. It's going to take time. Patience is a virtue. You invest in it, you wait for it, and it's going to happen. So that's one thing that you need to cultivate yourself. And the last one is a combination of all these points. I would like to say the most important thing, what you learned at SRM is not engineering. What you learned at SRM is the idea of how to learn engineering. That's what you learned. Okay? So what you did in SRM is learn the concept or learn the idea of how to learn effectively, because learning is a process that does not stop. So if you think that you learned engineering at SRM, when you finish SRM, you are done learning. No. When you finish your undergraduate, that's the time you start learning. What you did during the years at SRM is you got the idea of how to learn. So the lifelong learning process. You are helping yourself or leveraging your education that you did at SRM to be able to become a better person in your life. Okay. So you learned the art of learning. So you leverage that and use all the things that we have seen in the first 9 parts and use it to become successful. I wish all of you to become successful. So what are the things that I have some common examples of few of the people here. I know there is a CEO of an IT company in Indianapolis. I don't want to take names. He's a very fair. I'm talking about only 93 batch, and I'm talking about one of my very, very close circle from mechanical engineering. He owns an IT company in Indianapolis. He drives a BMW bike, and he's an excellent guy. We talk quite often. And there is another friend who we started working together in Fortec. Now he is also the CEO of a concept mall in Pune. You can, if you find that there is only one concept mall in Pune, you can find out who it is. There is a lot of, he gave a lot of YouTube talks on the idea of concept mall. It's entirely his brainchild. He started with spray painting, then he moved into plastics. Then he moved into vice president of a company that was doing furnitures. Then he moved into becoming the CEO of a mall that is on home improvement. So that's his life story. And while he was doing that, he also did his master's in Pitt. Now he also completed his PhD. So he's a doctor now. Oh, so he's excellent. There is a company called data analytics company that's extremely successful in New York. He is having an apartment in the business district. So one of the top guys. So he has come to SRM and given some talk also. So he is the CEO of that company. And he helped many of the juniors around that time to move to US. He made the job easy. Another person from Comsi, I recently met when I was in Chennai. He was working in Microsoft. He quit Microsoft in Seattle, came back, started a business solution providing environment in India. He made it extremely big. He's one of the top guys in Chennai now. He lives in a small segment called Saidapet, and he is doing extremely well. Another one, she worked in World Bank, recently took a handsome early retirement package and settled back in Chennai. She used to work in USA. Her daughter got a job in USA. Now she settled back in Chennai, perfectly happy. And she bought a farm and everything. She moved away from the rigors of working life towards farming and other kind of stuff. That's more passionate towards the. Now I'm starting to think about retirement already because one of my friends retired, right? So, and then there is 2 other civil engineers. I don't want to leave, but at that time there were only 3 engineering disciplines. So one is a director at Infosys. Again, he has done so many workshops at SRM IST. He did his master's in IIM, and right now he is doing his PhD in IIT Chennai. Okay, so he's one of the top guys as well. And civil engineering, managing a highly profitable organic farm. Now, why we are looking at these are examples are, these are the people who leveraged on their education. They were ready to change. They were open-minded. They were ready to get out of their comfort zone, move things to wherever they took them. They did follow most of the things that we saw here. And they are now among the people that are, and this is not exhaustive. There are so many people. I have connections with about 120 or 130 of them in WhatsApp. Each and everyone has a success story. We can talk about that. But since time is limited, I'm just restricting myself to these. So now the next question that you should always have is, when should I take the call? When do I decide to do some of these? There is no time better than now. Okay. So it's always now that you take the call, not sometime later or not sometime earlier. Sometime earlier you couldn't have, sometimes later you don't know. So now is the time that you take the call as to what you should be doing in the future. The first hit that you need to give to yourself on the part of sculpting has to start now, and it has to be continuously updated. Where is help available? The question is very simple and the answer is available. It's everywhere. It could be from Google, it could be from campus resources, it could be online, it could be senior, it could be alumni, it could be family, friends, professional workshops. We can go on and on and on. It's where you look for it is more important. So help is available everywhere. You should be able to take it. That's the most important, right? And the last question is any more. That's enough for me talking, because if you give me time, I've been professor and I'll be talking long time. That's not a problem. But the question is more important. I would like to share. If you have any questions, I can answer. So that's it from me, and thank you for the opportunity that was given. It was very nice meeting and talking to all of you, right?
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. That was very informative, insightful, and reassuring to a great extent. I now request Manideep, a student member of the Alumni Association Committee at SRM AB, to take over the Q&A session.
Good evening, sir.
Good evening.
So there are 3 questions over here from students.
Okay.
The very first question is like, what according to you should be a BTech ECE student do to get a perfect job in the future? He might wants to get a job.
See, there are so many things, right? One, there is nothing called a perfect job. That is the first thing that you need to have. And the perfect job is again personal. For me, a perfect job is a one. I finish at 5, I come back home, I have a glass of wine, I sit with my family, have some fun, I watch TV. That's a perfect job. For some, perfect job is I need to be working 24/7. I need to be making my million when I'm 35. My first million should be when I'm 35. That's a perfect job. So it's individual. I cannot say what is your perfect job. Your perfect job is yours. So that's the first question. Is you should be able to identify what a perfect job means to you. Sometimes, take the example from the Amir Ali case, the perfect job would be something like the one that he or she is interested in pursuing, electric vehicles. So he was a mechanical engineer, but he was interested in pursuing battery management for electric vehicles. And he moved on, right? It's a passion. So now you need to find out what the perfect job means to you and work towards it. Does that answer your question?
I think
okay,
so.
the book was not a penny more, not a penny less.
And the other question is like, what are you working on currently other than the micro gear you showed?
No. So micro gear is this that micro gear was done long time. Okay? So that puts in perspective. I do 2 things. I do machining, and I also measure what I machine. So I have the ability to do both at the micro level. That's the reason why the picture is there. Currently, I moved away from micro machining and I'm working mostly on bioprinting. So what we are trying to do is we are taking human cells and put them in a, I would like to have something like a desktop printer. And if I give a command saying that I take images from the CT scan of my brain or my kidney or my eyes, could be anything. I take layered image, 3D image of my kidney, and I put it on the computer. So I give a command called control print, control P. So it should be able to print my kidney on my desktop printer, right? So now what happens, I take the kidney to my doctor and say that, okay, I'm diabetic, I eat a lot of sugar, my kidney is damaged. Now I have my new kidney with me. Can you put it for me? That is essentially the type. The long term. It is like more like what you see in movies, but it's we are looking at 20, 30 years from now. The first successful organ transplant they are trying currently is the most common one is skin. Okay? So you take skin cells you develop skin and you develop scaffolds in the skin. And if there are burn victims, there is going to be some kind of, I lost my skin due to burning. So I can take a skin cell out of another part, which is not visible. So I can take it out and I can create my skin cell and I can complete the skin with my grafting. So instead of previously when in the 90s and the 70s and the 80s, if you get burns, what they do is they peel the skin from the areas that are not very visible, which means you keep them covered, right? So they take the skin and put it on the areas that are more visible so that it's more appealing to see. But now we don't want to take the skin, we just take skin cells and allow the printing process to print it as a skin. Because I take my own skin cell, I'm printing my own skin. So I put my own skin. So I don't have any problem with acceptance, blood group variations. Nothing is a problem. So that's essentially the target that we are looking at. So right now I'm trying to print veins with my PhD students and working with doctors in the hospital. We are trying to get the basic protocol for printing vasculatures or veins where blood is being pumped. My student technically is defending on 11th February. So Friday after next, he will be finishing his PhD. Yeah. So the next question, I see a few of them. Let's see.
Like there is another question that he wants to know about the Concordia University opportunities for his postdoc completion. He's currently completing his PhD in computer science. He wants to.
Where did you complete the PhD?
We don't know, sir. It's like a Q&A, so it will be from anonymous.
So it depends, right? So the postdoc opportunity essentially is from the professor themselves, so they will be able to say if they are going to take it or not. So you have to apply. That's the only way. There are few possibilities available. One is going to be there are a lot of funds for Concordia professors to take postdocs. So what we're looking at is they will be taking the postdocs based on their funding and other requirements. So it's not easy to say it as an answer. So it is always good to look at which professor is looking at the area of research interest and you take the call from there. That's the most ideal thing.
One more question, sir. How to cope up with insecurity of survival day to day with advancing revolution of technology and lifestyle of humanity?
Not easy. So again, go back to some of the things that I mentioned. One of the things that you need to look at is you have to focus on things that you can control. There are things that you cannot control. So there is no point in wasting your time focusing on those, right? So if you know that those things that you cannot control, then don't waste time focusing on that. So try to focus on things that you can control. That's the only thing that can keep you sane and that can keep you in the right spirit to work towards what you want. Okay. So there is no point in worrying about what if things change. You can't do anything about it. So when you can't do anything about it, there is no point in worrying about it.
One last question from my side, sir. It's like, will you be open to have some email discussion about any research work?
Yeah, 100%. 100%.
That's all for the Q&A.
Fantastic.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Professor, sir. Thank you.
Thank you.
Our
Kingsley
sir has joined, sir. He's
Hello.
Yeah, how are you?
Great, sir. How are you?
Fine.
To Vijaya.
Yeah.
It's been a long time.
Oh, yeah. After that, one alumni meet we met. Am I right?
Yeah. I came on the 25th.
Yeah. 25th alumni meet. 25th year. Yeah. How is life there?
Great.
Okay.
So actually, I was planning to move to India. I wanted to come to Amravati. I sold my house and I got admission for my kids in Delhi Public School, Vijayawada. Everything was done. COVID came and things changed significantly, so I couldn't move.
Okay, I see. So that has happened 2 years back.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, thanks a lot for
Thank you
and
very
giving a
much.
lecture. Okay, we will
Yeah.
definitely meet after some time.
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. Thanks.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Professor Ganabhi sir also there, sir.
Yeah,
Yeah, so
welcome.
Professor,
Hello,
yeah,
hello.
so Sivakumar, how are
Yes.